Hey guys, it's Kristen, and today we're going to be talking about the Charmed reboot. I feel like this is a potential reboot that we've been hearing about for literally years, and it's actually being picked up by the CW, which is the same channel that it was originally on back in the day, although then it was called the WB. The original series followed the story of three sisters who find out that they're actually powerful witches called the Charmed Ones, and they use their power of three to protect innocent people from evil that is in the world, like demons and warlocks. Each sister had a different power: Prue with the power of telekinesis, Phoebe with the power of premonition, Piper with the power of the ability to freeze things, and later on in the series, after Prue's death, they found out they had a long-lost sister named Paige who had this power of kind of orbing teleportation, and she continued that power of three for them. I will say I am a huge fan of witches and magic and all that mystical stuff. You know, I'm a huge Sabrina the Teenage Witch fan. I'm excited for that Chilling Adventures of Sabrina show. I'm excited for this show. I didn't watch Charmed when it was on air, but I did watch it on Netflix several years back and I loved it. I actually started collecting these Charmed magazines that I started finding in different comic book shops. They're actually companions to the series and they're really interesting and kind of deep dive more into the episodes and the series. And I was just really excited when I found out that they were making a Charmed reboot because I loved the series and I would love to see it continue on in some way. When I found out that this reboot was happening, I was really excited. I was very interested to see what they would do with it. The CW just picked this up. They just announced the cast. They just started releasing photos and announced that it's going to be on Sundays at 9 after Supergirl. And I thought that's all the information we were going to get. But lucky for us, there's a whole lot more coming. We got essentially a 4-minute trailer plus a couple of other different clips, and after seeing all that, I thought it'd be a really great time to talk about the new cast, where they're going with this new series, what we can expect, and just my thoughts on it. First of all, the show is from executive producers that are behind Jane the Virgin, and that show has had a lot of critical success, so I feel like this is already off to a good start for this new series. I also want to give a quick shout out to executive producer Carter Covington. I worked with him on Faking It, and he is a wonderful guy, super nice, and I just think it's really great that he has another project out in the works. So in this new Charmed series, we're actually following the Vera Sisters, not the Halliwell sisters, and we meet Mel, who is played by Melanie Diaz, and Maggie, who's played by Sarah Jeffrey. After the unexpected death of their mother, Maggie is trying to live a normal life. She's trying to go to school, she's trying to get back on track, while Mel is convinced that their mother's death was not an accident. Along the way, they discover they have a long-lost stepsister named Macy Vaughn, played by Madeline Mattock, when she shows up at their front door. Let's talk about the setup a little bit. You know, the Vera sisters actually live in a house that looks very similar to the Halliwell Manor, and the attic is, again, a center point for their magic and magic discovery like it was in the original series. Also, just like the original sisters all had names that started with P, all of these sisters have names that start with M. So I really appreciated those small nods to the original series, making those little connections. Let's dive into these sisters' characters a little bit more. So Maggie is a bubbly, fun-loving college freshman. She's trying to move on from the past of her mother's death and start fresh in college. She's rushing a sorority. When comparing to the original characters, I would say she is a little bit like Phoebe. She is the younger sister. They both had kind of these internalized powers, Phoebe being the power of premonition and Maggie being the power of being able to read people's minds. Mel is a graduate student in the Women's Studies department at the local university. She's a social justice warrior, but things haven't really been the same for her since her mother's death. She's really been consumed with trying to figure out what happened there. I would say that she's sort of similar to Piper in a way. They both have that family dynamic shift that goes on. For Mel, she starts out as the older sister and then becomes the middle sister when they learn about Macy. For Piper, she was the middle sister, and then when Prue dies, she kind of has to step in as the older sister. They both have time freezing abilities. I would say one of the differences here though is that Mel is the one who really wants the sisters to embrace their destiny as witches, whereas in the original series it was more Phoebe that was in that role of them accepting who they really are. And then you have Macy, who's this brilliant geneticist, and she's this long-lost mysterious sister who comes in later on after their mother's already dead. I would say she's similar to Prue in that she's the oldest, and she's kind of similar to Paige in that she's, this long-lost stepsister that they had no idea existed. She also has this telekinesis type of power, which is sort of similar to both of those characters. And while Macy wants to connect with her newfound sisters, Mel is kind of that one that's this is too much. There's just too many shocking things going on, and kind of rejects her. They do end up, of course, coming together because, the power of three. Their powers begin to manifest. Luckily, they have their white lighter Harry, who also moonlights as the chair of the Women's Studies department, to rely on and help guide them as they become the witches that they're meant to be. I've seen a lot of people saying actually that they felt like, at least from the trailer, Harry seemed kind of like a Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I guess we'll see, maybe it's that British accent, but we'll see where it goes. They do end up learning, as I'm sure you all expect, that their mother's death was not an accident. They learn more about, you know, the power that they have and start to embrace it and come together as sisters. I really enjoyed the footage that we've gotten so far. I love that we're getting these 3 strong Latina women who are coming into their own, embracing sisterhood and the power that they have within themselves. I feel like that's something that we have not gotten to see very often in Latina representation on television. As a Latina myself, I am so excited to see more of that and to see all the different types of Latinas being represented. You know, in this show, Macy is an Afro-Latina, and I think along with this show, along with On My Block, we've been seeing a bit more positive Afro-Latina representation in Hollywood, and I want to see more of that. I love seeing that positive representation. I just think it's so important. I'm hoping their Latina backgrounds play a big role in the series, in their magic, in just the way that they interact and things like that. You know, I feel like the CW is making big strides to be inclusive and tell different types of stories, and I really appreciate that. You know, I know that they have that upcoming Roswell sci-fi show as well, where they're going to be focusing on immigration. Our world is diverse, and I feel like that's what it should reflect in our shows and movies and things like that as well. You know, I think that they are really at the forefront of like bringing representation and diversity. And I know sometimes diversity and representation can sound like buzzwords, but I do think it is important, you know, to be able to see people like yourself or just other people in the world see their experiences, and to be able to see these 3 Latina women come into their own and realize how powerful they are and not be seen as like, oh, the maid. I really am excited to see something different. I also love that they made Mel queer, you know, being able to show that representation as well. Similar to how Prue is with Andy the detective, you have Mel, who is dating the female police investigator Nico. And again, you know, just being able to see those types of stories brought to life, and, you know, instead of seeing, nothing wrong of course with seeing, you know, 3 white witches, but to see, you know, 3 Latina witches, one who's queer, you know, it's just, it feels very modern. And of course, while I think the original show is very strong and feminist and original for its time, I'm excited though to see where this new story goes. I know many other fans might not be excited about this reboot. They might be like, well, I wanted to see the original characters, or at least see their kids continue the story, but you know, I still think this is gonna be fun. You know, instead of trying to pretend that they can give us Prue, Piper, Phoebe, and Paige again, they're kind of expanding the universe. They're giving us a chance to meet new characters, storylines, adventures, while still giving us a little bit of, you know, those references or kind of paying homage to certain things from the original series. Again, I loved the original Charmed, but I just feel very open-minded about this show. I'm excited for it. I hope that they do it well, and I think if they do, it could be a really great show. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I would love to know your thoughts on what you think about the Charmed reboot. Are you into it? Are you not excited? Let me know in the comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click that subscribe button because I come out with new videos every week. See ya!